The thing I get asked the most when I talk about my drinking is, what made you stop? But a close second is, how long did you drink? And I always tell people I drank for 20 years, but only 10 years professionally. I turned pro in my late 20s. Turning pro is that moment when you're really not drinking because you're having fun anymore. It's when you're doing it just to function. Maintaining is the technical term, I guess. It doesn't matter how you earn it, though, because at some point, every alcoholic is going to get to that moment when they're promoted from amateur to professional status. It really is just a matter of time and circumstance. But that's the thing with circumstances. It's different for alcoholics because we catastrophize everything. We look for the awfulness in every scenario just so we can retreat to our drink. We're constantly teetering on professional and amateur, looking for the one thing to finally snap us. And that's how close we all are. Just one event, one incident, just one more weight added to the bad plate on the scales so they can tip and the statue can finally fall over. For me, my promotion to professional, that came when I lost my job teaching. 7 East is covered in other blogs on this site. Read Professional Victims if you want to know more. But basically, that was the name of the apartment I lived in from my late teens to my early 20s. Tons of parties, tons of good memories, just really the foundation for my alcoholism. Me and about 50 other people, night after night, drinking, doing drugs, making fantastic memories, doing nothing with our lives except living in the moment and enjoying our youth. These were some of the fondest memories I've ever had, and it lasted for about 5 years. And honestly, I didn't ever want it to end. Then September 11th happened. I'll keep this brief, and I want to be clear. I didn't know anyone who died in the 9/11 attacks. But still, something happened to me that morning. As Jeff and I were sitting there, watching the towers burn, listening to the reports of people raining out of the buildings, just taking in the enormity, something changed. It all seemed so unfair. These people in the buildings, they made all the right choices in life. They did all the right things. Their only crime was they went to work that day to support their families, and now they're dead. I don't know what changed in me with that. Everything was just different now. Nothing would ever be the same size again. I thought of the last 5 years of my life and was just embarrassed. I hadn't done anything of any relevance with my life, but yet I was alive and they were dead. It wasn't fair. And just like that, the party was over. 7 East was over. I wanted to do something that mattered, but didn't really know what. I didn't have a college degree and all of my work experience was in restaurants. But I had always liked kids though. And I remembered there was a daycare center that was hiring by 7 East. So I decided to give it a go. I became the assistant teacher in that preschool program, the 4s and the 5s. And it turns out I was amazing at it. I'm extremely arrogant about only a few things, and teaching is one of them. I was a great teacher. I am a great teacher. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I don't really regard myself as an adult. I still don't to this day. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I was able to teach the kids how to read, how to tie their shoes, how to read clocks, to memorize all their states, but most importantly, I taught every child to be nice to everyone, to pick up trash, to be polite, to protect little things and not bully them. I was so influential at that school that the owner of the company paid for me to go back to college. I got a degree and I took over the classroom. Now I really had the opportunity to do good things. I started doing charity events out of the school, writing Christmas plays. I got in the newspaper several times. I'm not kidding. I was a rock star. And the biggest thing is, I was proud of myself. I was doing something with my life, something that justified me not dying that morning. I became somebody. I became so popular that I caught the attention of the director of the school, who I started dating. Quick life tip from your old boy Bob. Don't date your boss. Don't do this. It will not end well. but that comes up in a second. I worked at that school for 6 years. I grew up during those years. I left 7 East. I left a lot of those people behind. I got my license. I got an apartment. I became different. It was the first time in my life I was known for something other than the guy who could chug vodka or the guy who had the party apartment. I still drank every night, and cards on the table, I was kind of teetering on turning pro, but I still had it under control. I had it under control for one reason. I had a purpose. I had found my identity, and this was what I was going to do forever. That was the plan. I thought that was the plan. But remember that boss I told you about earlier? Yeah, well, we broke up. And for 3 years, she made my life at that school a living hell. Until finally, she accused me of child abuse against her own daughter who was going to the school. It became too much. She became too much. So I quit. Nothing ever came of the child abuse charges. CPS investigated it and found out it was just some bitter ex-girlfriend trying to be spiteful, and she got fired. The school was embarrassed by the whole ordeal, and they gave me a bunch of money and told me to go away. And just like that, my entire redemption arc came to a close. No big epic conclusion. There wasn't me standing in an empty classroom saying, "Class dismissed." Nope, none of that. Just me in my apartment with $5,000 and 6 years of memories and a chapter of my life that just abruptly closed in a bad way. I should have taken the money, gotten over it, taken my experiences, learned my lesson, and moved on with my life like a normal person does. But I didn't, because I'm not normal. Instead, I used this as the perfect excuse to turn pro. I kind of hate what I became after that. I was 29 years old. It was 2007, and honestly, the next 10 years of my life, they're kind of spotty at best. I really lost it, man. I started drinking in the morning, during work, at whatever job I had that month, drinking till I went to sleep. This was also when the hospital visits started. The seizures, the drinking to get the sickness away. This was when I had turned pro. I would go with whatever girl I could use that tolerated my bullshit, and when they got sick of me, I would go back to my parents' house. Looking back, I didn't even realize how lost I was. By the time Sarah came into the picture and the smoke cleared in 2017, I had multiple failed relationships, pancreatitis, 2 DUIs, a criminal record. I'd been to rehab, and being a professional victim had now become my whole identity. I would tell whoever would listen about what a legend I used to be and how unfairly it had all ended. But see, the thing is, Sarah knew me before any of that stuff had happened, and I was eager to catch her up on what she had missed in the last 18 years. One of the first dates we ever went on, we were walking around this lake because I didn't have any money to actually take her anywhere. I was drunk, I realize that now, and the whole time I was talking about being a teacher. I told her about 9/11 and how much it had screwed me up, about how I was on this quest to save the world through teaching, and then it ended and how unfair it was the way it ended. I told her everything that had happened, all the stories about my favorite kids, and she smiled politely, and she listened, and she laughed at the funny parts, and she made a frown at the sad ones. And when I had finally gotten it all out of my system, hours later, not kidding, hours, she sighed, kind of shrugged her shoulders. Then she said the most eye-opening thing anyone had said to me in a decade. "So what have you been up to lately?" I honestly didn't know what she meant. Lately, I thought. Did you not hear what I just said? I was unjustly run out of my purpose, lady. That's what I was thinking. And then I realized it. It had been 10 years since I had left that school, and I have absolutely let this consume my whole life. I have spent 10 years kicking the rocks, moping around, completely standing still. Sarah didn't care about hearing all these stories of what I did a decade ago. She wanted to know what I was up to with my life now. And sadly, I thought about it. I really thought about it. probably for the first time since I left. And I gave her the only answer I could pathetically muster out. Nothing. And right there, on the side of that lake, staring at Sarah sitting on the bench, it occurred to me how crazy it was that I had been letting this control me for 10 years. And I saw for the first time what I had let this turn me into. Standing there, drunk in the middle of the day, reminiscing about the past, staring at my future that was sitting on that bench, I realized something important. These things that you thought were going to be forever, the life that you were supposed to have, maybe it wasn't supposed to be forever. Maybe those moments were supposed to be temporary. I realized that you should stop trying to chase those old feelings and hold on to them and just let them go and just be happy that they occurred at all. I realized that some things, no matter how much it hurts to let them go, are better left in memory. We continued to walk around the lake, talked about other stuff, but I knew things were different now. She was different. I didn't want to talk about my old memories. I wanted to make new ones with her. Sarah and I have been together for almost 8 years. She pulled me out of what I was stuck in because that's just what love does. She showed me what I had forgotten, the ability to make new memories. Aside from the occasional funny story, I don't really bring up my years teaching anymore because it's in the past. It's something that happened and it's over now. And no matter how good it felt, I need to allow new things to happen. And that's the problem with holding on to too many old memories. They populate you. It fills up all your thoughts and times. And I found out, thankfully not too late, that if all you're doing is reminiscing about old memories, there's no room left for new ones. You become the picture you're looking at, just forever stuck as that person. I like my life now. It's the happiest I've ever been. And I've been a lot of different people throughout my life. I was Bob who owned the party house, Bob the teacher, Bob the victim, and finally, Bob the professional alcoholic. And I'll tell you, once you turn pro, it's really hard to retire. That job will kill you if you let it. I truly thought that a professional alcoholic was going to be my final career choice. It was probably supposed to be. But I had to quit that job. I had to clear out my desk and move on from that career path. Because in 2017, someone came along with a better offer.